Hello, I'm Lucy from In the Midst of Madness, and I just thought I'd do a vlog today because I'm trying to kind of start up something a bit more regular, and I'm actually having a really tough time at the moment, and I wanted to, I should have done this hours ago, but there were so many reasons why I didn't, and yeah, I just kind of wanted to sort of talk about things because, as I say, I'm having a really hard time at the moment, and I think quite often I sort of shy away from talking about things when stuff is really bad, and when I'm feeling really, really ill. And actually, I always kind of wanted to be able to sort of share everything rather than kind of specific bits. And I'm not even sure I'm being coherent, sorry. That is so kind of indicative of like what's going on in my head, because my brain is just all over the place at the moment. My thought processes are everywhere, and I'm really, really tired because I'm not sleeping properly, and just so much has been going on, and mostly it's just sort of the same couple of things that are really stressing me out at the moment. But ever since I found out that my granddad was dying, I have just been dreading getting to the funeral because that is such a big deal for me, and I want to be there, and I am going to do everything in my power to be there. But yeah, ever since I found out that he was dying, it's just been sort of in my head that I was going to have to be able to go and do this really scary thing. And I know just how hard I found it getting to Joe's mum's funeral. And I mean, in many ways that was sort of harder because it was much further away. Like, we had to drive, I think it was 3 hours each way. We had to do it in a day trip because I can't stay away from home. And there were loads of people there that I didn't know. And obviously we had the whole COVID situation, which is the same as now. But yeah, it was just really hard, and needing to be there for Joe, and he's my absolute biggest support, and obviously I needed to be supporting him because he'd just lost his mum, and yeah, it was really hard trying to deal with my anxiety about everything and try and kind of keep that sort of hidden as much as I could from him, which I can't imagine I did a good job of at all. But it meant I wasn't able to use kind of all of the coping strategies that I normally do. And yeah, it was such a hard day, and I did get through it, which is what everyone sort of said since, but it was honestly one of the worst days of my life. I have never been so physically ill without having a bug or something. And lots of you know, I have IBS, and it's now diet controlled. And so I'd been really good. 2 days before we went, I had cut out all of the things that I can't eat, and that's normally more than long enough to get all of my symptoms under control. And I'll still obviously feel really anxious, but I won't get the attack symptoms that I get with IBS, because my body hasn't got any food in it that it shouldn't have. So I'd done all of that, I'd done everything right, I'd done all of my preparations, and from going to bed the night before, I had an upset stomach, and that is one of my worst nightmares, is being trapped away from home and being ill, and actually that well predated my anxiety disorders. I have been terrified of that for years, and it was just horrible trying to get through that, and being in the car and just feeling my stomach churning and wondering if I was going to get to the toilet in time. And so I'm obviously, because that was my last experience of going to a funeral and feeling this anxious, I have just been so worried about that happening this time round. And this should be in many ways kind of easier, at least logistically, because it's much, much closer. So it's 10 minutes up the road, in the car. And I think I know everybody coming bar 2 people maybe, and obviously most of them are my family, so like I've known them most of my life, and Joe will be there for me rather than me needing to be there for him, and so we can kind of go back into our little routine of dealing with me and my anxiety. And I've done all of the things that I do to try and make these things as easy as possible. So like I've tried on my outfits, I've worked out, like it's narrowed down to 2 depending on the weather. I've worked out layers to wear, I've tried on my tights to make sure that they fit and they haven't got ladders and all of that. And probably tomorrow I will practice my hair, and check that I'm happy with my jewellery choices, practice makeup because I don't ever wear makeup, and I want it to be kind of as easy as possible to get ready on the day, without having to kind of make decisions or think about things, like just put the outfit on, do my hair, do my makeup, leave. And like I've already changed my food, and all of those things, but I just feel so anxious, and like right now I don't even feel as bad as I did earlier, which was why I was saying I probably should have done this earlier. But I've just been so unwell today, and like I didn't even want to get out of bed. I could barely move this morning. I could hardly breathe, and my stomach was just churning and just felt awful, and like I hadn't even eaten anything. And I've had an upset stomach on and off today, and like it's not for another 3 days. And then my thought process is just kind of go completely overboard, and I'm thinking, well, have I got it out the way now? Because like that would be perfect if I have. Like it's horrible feeling like this, but I'd rather it be today. But then I think, well, no, my brain can ramp this up again by Friday, especially as it's only Tuesday. And then I think, like, well, what if it's worse than this? Like, what if it doesn't stop? What if I can't get there? What if I can't leave the toilet? It's just that there are so many what ifs in my brain, and I hate it because I come up with answers and then I forget the answers, and even if I come up with answers, my brain then just goes on to the next thing. It's just, oh yeah, but what about that? And it will just keep sort of searching out all of these awful scenarios that are so unlikely to happen, especially together, until it finds stuff that I can't solve. And then I just sit and obsess over it. And I try so hard to distract myself, and I just can't. Like, I can't concentrate. I can barely even watch TV when I'm like this. I feel like I'm not even coherent in how I sort of talk, or how I was going to say how I speak, but that's the same thing. But like I certainly don't think coherently. I don't think I speak coherently, and I just end up in these just loops of just feeling awful, and then obviously the physical stuff as well. And part of why I've like not been sleeping is because I've got physical health problems at the moment, and I finally braved it and phoned the doctors, I think about 3 weeks ago, and started treatment, and that didn't work, and then I had another treatment and that hasn't worked. And so yesterday I was trying to psych myself up to phone the doctors today, which I did, and then I was waiting for a call back all day for an appointment, so I then had to phone them, because they clearly weren't going to phone me, and I spent 45 minutes on hold, desperately wanting to hang up. But I now have an appointment to have tests done on Thursday. And I mean, thankfully that's being done with a nurse who's done tests like this on me before, and I'm just hoping this is going to work, because like my symptoms are waking me up in the night, and then I'm not sleeping, and then I'm even less able to cope with everything because I'm so tired. And there's just so much going on that like I can't necessarily even talk about, but there's just so much going on in my personal life, and I just feel like I'm drowning. Like, I'm not a particularly emotional person. Like, I do anxiety, but I'm not even sure that is an emotion. But I don't tend to be a particularly emotional person, and I have spent so much time crying this week, and it's not even been about Grandad dying, and then I feel guilty because it's like, why am I more upset about other things than that? And I know why. It's because it was expected, and it's because he's now actually at peace. And in many ways, him dying was a relief because he'd suffered, and that's horrible to see, especially of someone that you love so much. But I've spent so much time crying this week, and I hate crying. I find it completely exhausting, and I don't actually find it very helpful. But yeah, I just, like, even just sat here, I feel like I can't breathe, and I feel like my heart's racing, and that's with me taking my beta blockers, which are meant to regulate my heart rate. And I definitely don't feel like I'm breathing properly. I feel like I breathe in a very shallow way. And yeah, I didn't really even have like a point for this video other than I thought earlier on today, like, I should really do this, I should really kind of show what it's like, and then I kind of chickened out, and I hadn't got showered or dressed because I was waiting for this call back from 11 o'clock this morning, and I just knew that if I got in the shower they would phone, and Joe was at work, so like I should have showered before he went to work, but I was like, no, I need to talk to the nurse, I need to tell them what's going on. And so yeah, I just completely missed my chance, so I didn't get showered until this evening, and now here we are, and thankfully I have calmed down a bit. Like, this is nowhere near how I was earlier. Like, earlier I could barely even talk, but it just feels so stupid. Like, I've been ill for 7 years, and I mean that just, I know what 7 years means, obviously everybody does, but like, you sort of think about like what 7 years of your life sort of encompasses, and even though I've lived this every day, I can't believe I've lived this every day. And it is just sort of my norm now, but at the same time I never get used to it, and I know that must sound so crazy, but I think it's like people who are in chronic pain, people think they must get used to it. Like, if something hurts, it hurts. It doesn't matter if you've felt it 1,000 times or once, it hurts. And it becomes familiar, but I don't think you get used to it. And I think that's really exactly the same with anxiety, is I notice the symptoms earlier, I know what they are, I'm not so scared of them anymore, because I'm used to them. And like, I have joked with my friends that, like, if I ever have a heart attack, I will die, because I won't go to the hospital, because I'll just be like, oh yeah, it's just my anxiety again, just making me feel like I'm going to die. And I won't even know, like, I won't do anything about it, because I get horrific chest pains that genuinely feel like I'm having a heart attack, but psychologically I know I'm not. But one day I might, and I wouldn't do anything about it until it was way too late. But yeah, I get all these symptoms, and it's just sort of, oh, okay, here we go again. But it still hurts, metaphorically. It's still painful every single time. And I don't know how to sort of get used to that, or make it less scary, or not have to go through what genuinely feels like torture every time I'm trying to go and do something that I need to do or want to do. Like, I want to go, well, as much as anyone wants to go to a funeral, I want to go to my granddad's funeral. Like, he was such an important part of my life, and I want to be there. I don't want my illness to stop me. But just everything in me screams, nope, you can't do it, don't do it, don't do it. It's going to be awful, you're going to be so ill, you're going to be trapped, and just a million other things. And I'm there going, but I want to go. I want to say goodbye. I want to do this. And for whatever lovely but crazy reason, I've actually asked to speak at Grandad's funeral, which I am mostly regretting. Like, I really want to do it, and I know that if I was well, that was always what I had wanted to do, and I've thought that for a few years, because having an anxiety disorder means you plan ahead for absolutely everything. So of course I've thought of everybody's deaths around me, and what I what I would do and how I'd deal with it and what I'd want to do at their funeral and all of those kinds of things. I think about all sorts of stuff when I can't sleep at night. And I don't want my diagnosis, well, not the diagnosis obviously, but like the effects of the diagnosis. I don't want that to stop me, because I'm really proud of what I've written to say. Like, I'm really proud of it, and I don't tend to be proud of anything much that I do, but like, I'm meant to be speaking first, and I wanted to just sum up who Grandad was to all of us. And I feel like I've done a good job of that, and the few people that I've shared it with have said that I have done that, and I'm really proud of it, and I want to be able to do it. But God, the thought of doing it just makes my stomach turn. I feel so sick. I don't even know how I'm going to walk to the lectern to speak. I don't know how I'm going to say anything. I don't know how to get the words out. And I've practiced like on like video chat with a couple of my friends, and I'm trying to practice performing it. I'm trying to practice like not just reading off a page and making it sound really boring. I'm trying to be animated in how I speak and not make it sound like a sermon or anything like that. But I'm just terrified, and I want to do my Grandad justice, and I want to do myself justice, and I want to be proud of myself, and I want him to be proud of me, and I want my family to be proud of me, and I'm so worried I won't achieve any of that. Well, I'm so worried I won't even get there. And this is just what I spend hours of every day thinking and wondering and pondering and worrying over. And it's literally been like this for the 3 weeks he was dying and the 3.5 weeks since he died. And I'm just so exhausted, and I'm like this far off crying the entire time because I'm so tired. And I feel like I spend my life saying that on videos. I swear there are times when I'm less tired. I don't tend to film those. I probably should. But yeah, I am really exhausted and burnt out, and I feel like I spend my life wishing my time away, and I hate that, because you never know how long you've got. You never know what's around the corner. You don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know how much worse it can get. I mean, obviously I've thought of how much worse it can get, and all of the scenarios in which it would be worse, but you don't know what's going to happen. And I don't want to keep wishing my time away, but I am constantly thinking, well, just after this bit I'll be alright, after that I'll be alright. As soon as this is done, then I can breathe and not keep wishing my time away. And here we are 7 years later, and I've spent most of the 7 years doing that. And yeah, I don't even know if any of this is making sense. It's probably really bleak to watch, and probably almost no one is watching now. And I'm sorry if that's the case. Like, I do try to be kind of funny and animated and entertaining, even when I'm talking about dark stuff. But it's hard when you're just feeling so beaten down, and that is how I feel at the moment. I feel so just downtrodden and like I'm drowning. It feels like I'm constantly gasping for air, and I can never quite get enough in. Yeah, and I know lots of people kind of go through this, and so I kind of wanted to be able to, I guess, share that, put it into words, coherently or not, because there's no point kind of dressing it all up. And like, going back to my speech, like I know that lots of people think that because I'm kind of goodish at talking on camera, albeit not to the camera, sorry, but that I'm good at saying words, like a lot of words, and doing that on film, that I would be good at kind of doing a speech. But like it's just so completely different, because like I think I said before, I'm so sorry that my light's flickering. There's nothing I can do about it. It does it randomly. I've completely lost my train of thought. This is what happens when I'm anxious. I go totally blank if I get distracted. Which again is another worry I have during my speech. But yeah, like I think I've always said on here that like I don't have a script for this stuff because I can't perform like reading well. And generally I have like a gist of where I want a vlog to go, and then I just sort of go for it and see where it ends up, and then I literally have to watch it back because I dissociate, and so most of the time I have no idea what I'm saying, and like none of you will have any idea I'm doing it. It's only me that knows it's happened. But in almost every video I've ever done, pretty much straight after the "Hello, I'm Lucy from In the Midst of Madness and today I'm going to talk about," after that I switch off. I don't know what's going on, and I will kind of periodically almost wake up while I'm talking and realise words are coming out of my mouth, and it's like, oh gosh, what have I said? Have I sworn? Because I've always said I won't swear on here. I swear loads in real life, but I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to annoy people or hack them off or anything, or alienate them. So I always decided I wouldn't swear here. But yeah, I literally have to go back and check that I haven't like talked about things I shouldn't talk about, said words I shouldn't say, all of those kinds of things, because I don't know what I'm saying. And I think that will probably happen when I do my speech. I think it will probably just turn into a blur, if I can get any words out. So yeah, it probably sounds really weird that I'm so nervous about that when I do this. But when I'm doing this, like I'm literally looking at a camera on a tripod and looking at all the mess around my room that you thankfully can't see. And if I don't like it, I can stop. And like what my one saving grace for this is that I have now recorded a video of my speech so that can be played if I really can't speak. But because I've got some funny bits in it, like I didn't know how long to leave. And like obviously when you're doing a speech you don't laugh at your own stuff. And so it's sort of like, I would just so much rather do it live with an audience and with knowing like how they're reacting and what they found funny and what they haven't, and be able to just move on if they've not got a joke, or not that I'm like, that sounds so irreverent, like I'm not telling gags, I've just tried to bring up funny things about Grandad that will make everyone smile, because he made us smile, and he made us laugh. And I feel that that's what he would want, and so I've tried to do that. But obviously, if I deliver it really badly, then no one's gonna laugh. Apart from me, really nervously, because that's what I do when I'm anxious. And I talk far too much when I'm anxious as well, and I say things I shouldn't. So yeah, I am completely terrified, and just desperately hoping that it's going to go okay, and that I will get there, that I won't have an upset stomach, that I will be able to get up, walk, speak, nail it, and then actually pay attention to any of the rest of the funeral, because I feel like I'm just going to be in some like anxiety-induced stupor. But yeah, we'll see what happens. And like I've just got so many ridiculous worries, like what do I do with my mask, because obviously I'll take it off to speak, but I don't want to be doing something germy, and like I've got pockets in my dress, which I'm super excited about. So one of the dresses has pockets, and it's like, okay, well I could put it in there, but that seems quite germy, but I don't want to put it down, I don't really want it hanging off me. Do I take it off before I go, like, and that's just the mask. That, like, you should see the number of outfits I've had to try on, and like picking out like preferred underwear, and like I'm literally picking out absolutely everything that is going on my body that day ahead of time, and like planning in when to shave and all of those kinds of things. And yeah, my brain is, it's a really crazy place to be. But I just kind of wanted to give you some insight into like what actually goes into these things, because it isn't always just the big worry that everyone thinks it will be, like, oh, you've got to go outside. It's so many more things, and that's why it's so exhausting, because I have to plan so much in advance. I have to plan what I'm eating, I have to plan what I'm wearing, I have to plan when I'm going to drink, because I now have this really fun nervous urinating thing going on. And so if I drink too much, I'm just going to need a wee the entire time. And just so many things like that. And like, am I going to be too hot? Am I going to be too cold? What medicine do I need? Do I need water? How am I going to read my speech? Is it going to rustle? What am I going to do with my mask? Needing to remember to breathe, because like that is a genuine worry with my speech. Like, I have tried to punctuate it for speaking rather than reading, so that I know where to breathe because I forget. So yeah, I just wanted to give some insight into like what it's like being in my brain on a day when I've been like really, really unwell earlier, and at least a bit less unwell now, whilst trying to deal with all this physical health stuff, and just all sorts of random stuff going on in my personal life. And yeah, it's exhausting, and as I said many times, I'm very tired, and yeah, this is why my comparison post for Johanna's new books is so late, because I've had them for a week now, and like today I actually managed to do some of the photos, but I haven't even written the post. I've barely coloured in the book. I've barely done anything, because I just can't. Like, literally existing is a lot right now. So yeah, I am desperately hoping that after Friday I will kind of calm down a bit, because I've had these tests. Hopefully I'll get the results back. Hopefully they can treat what's wrong with me and get it sorted out so it stops stopping me sleep. And yeah, get this funeral done, and hopefully my speech, and then hopefully I can get some concentration back, and hopefully then I can come back with a more positive video, or at least a more well video. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of give an update, a rambling, well, it's just a me, isn't it? But yeah, thank you for watching. If you have, please do leave me a comment. It's so lovely hearing from you all. I was so touched by what you all said before on my last video. It was so lovely to know I'd been missed, and that you guys care about me, and that you thought what I'd said was alright. It's just lovely. Thank you. Honestly, thank you. It's been the best bit of the last week or so whenever I posted it. So yeah, please do give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. I will be back with all sorts of content. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.